2, 1, go. So yeah, my name is Chris LBC, and I'll be doing Spyro the Dragon any %. And let's do a little roll call on couch.
I'm Katie Lady.
I'm Sword of Seals.
I'm Alex Dest.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. So yeah, the goal of the speedrun is to get through all the balloonists, and they each require different collectibles in the game. So throughout this entire run, I'm going to be collecting gems, I'm going to be collecting eggs, and I'm going to be rescuing dragons. And it all routes out to, get exactly what you need right at the end.
In this first Homeworld Artisans, he's going to collect 10 dragons for the balloonist. There's actually going to be like an extra one, because there's more dragon requirements later on. But yeah, mostly just beelining to every dragon. He'll collect some gems along the way, but there's not too many good ones here.
To my understanding, the gem colors represent how many gems they're actually worth as well. And that's
Absolutely.
something to take into account. So I think the red ones are worth 1, the green ones are worth 2, the blue are worth 5, yellow are worth 10, I believe.
You bet.
And then purple are worth 25.
Nice.
So if you see any purple ones, going straight for those ones.
Now right here he's going to do a boosted jump, which is pretty simple. You just charge into a jump, and it gives you a little extra height, and then you can get up to places where you really shouldn't. There's also a little dragonfly following Spyro around, and he has 2 functions. He picks up the gems, and he also serves as the health. His color indicates how much health you have. It goes from yellow to blue, then green, and then he's gone. And then he won't help you pick up gems anymore. And then, yeah, one more hit, and Spyro's donezo as well.
I do believe there are things in the game called fodder that you can pick up as well, and that will give you sparks back. If you don't have him, then it will give you the lowest color. And if you do have him and he's a lower form of color, getting like a sheep, or it depends what homeworld you're in, I think, or what level you're in, you get different kinds of fodder that you can get.
Little small critters.
Yeah.
On this level, it's chickens. That's why you hear the chickens. Yeah, right here is going to be another boosted jump.
So that's just completely just the whole level kind of out of order. You're meant to come back to this point, I believe, to get that dragon towards the end.
Yeah, otherwise it'd be way too high. And the level's almost over. Once he exits this level, he's going to be doing something called a wall glide, where he's going to be keeping, out of a glide, he's going to keep Spyro parallel to the wall, and that will allow him to maintain or gain height, and then he's going to go out of bounds with that. And then he'll also see a little roll, and he's just like pressing X while he does that roll. It's supposed to just make you fall off the hill, but he can actually jump forward with it if he holds X.
Nice.
And there.
Nice.
There you go.
There's our little dragon.
So as you can see, some walls in this game aren't actually walls. They just look like walls.
All right, so now we're going to head off to Peacekeeper's home. The balloonist requirement there is 1,200 gems.
I think like the most interesting thing about any percent is like you kind of route it on the fly as well. There's a lot of like micromanagement as to your gem count. The levels that you go in needs to keep an eye on your count as well. And I do believe that Chris has like backup plans if like he leaves a level without gems. Like if you can go to a different area to get more, certain levels are completely ignored. Like Toasty in the first world, just there was no reason to go in there essentially, just because you're only after the bare requirement to get from homeworld to homeworld.
So starting off in this level, there's a fan chest, and when you flame a fan chest, there's actually a projectile that flies off, and it'll home into the nearest enemy or the nearest like object, like a chest or whatever it might be. And there's actually an enemy on the cliff near the end of the level, and we're gonna actually see him die from the fan chest, which is a nice little mechanic that they had in this game that kind of flew under the radar. So after this dragon, you're just gonna see him die from seemingly nothing. Oh, there he goes.
Nice.
Ooh, nice.
Got him. Yeah, we call that a dry canyon jump. He uses a charge glide to get over there. Charge glide is when you charge at the top of your glide, and it'll maintain more height than normal. And then you can get to places where you shouldn't.
I think one of the main things with like PlayStation games back in the day is they really like to tease you by putting things barely out of reach. So you spend countless amount of time trying to get to these areas, but you're actually meant to come back to it at a later point where the level like wraps around itself. But with these kind of techniques, you can kind of just say, haha, just do what you want, pretty much.
Yeah. All right, so coming up is a pretty difficult trick. It's a squeeze proxy. He's gonna flame this mama into a corner, and he's gonna put Spyro in between the mama and the corner here. And if he does it right,
Try it again.
it'll push Spyro out. Spyro gets stuck between the wall and the mama, and the game thinks that Spyro's stuck, so he pushes him up. And this allows him to get up to this area.
Nice.
Ooh, yeah.
Got that too.
Yeah, that was another effect of jumping out of rolling animation. That house allows you to get up to this area early.
Yeah, you've done this level completely out of order. What you're normally meant to do is go forward, go through all the buildings, get to the very top, and then you basically glide all the way over to the other side. Because of that, he was just able just to get there straight away, which obviously saves quite a bit of time because instead of having to go forward and back, he's able to just clear everything in one forward push. So I believe the end of the level is located right at the end, isn't it?
Yeah. It uses a charge glide pretty interestingly there to collect those gems.
Sparks was slacking there, not grabbing that 10 gem. It's unfortunate. Yeah, on top of Sparks being your health in this game, he also collects all the gems for you. So we definitely want to treat him well.
I have a question. What differentiates between you wanting to pause the menu out to exit to get to the home world and leaving via the actual in-game exit?
It depends on if there's an object at the end that has a home-in effect. If like a gem is homing into you, you can exit through the return home portal and it'll collect as you're going out.
Okay.
So it just depends where you end a level. So in that case in Clifftown, I left while grabbing a chest, so that gem homes in while I'm going into it.
All right, so this is the first flight level that we're gonna see. This is just a really fast way to collect gems. This takes about a minute for this level. And whenever Spyro flies downward, like so, he'll gain more speed, which is obviously what we want. And then he's gonna do an animation cancel at the end by running into an object, and in this case it'll be a lighthouse. He has like this really long victory animation where he flies in the air and then all the objects fly around him, but we don't have time for that nonsense.
I don't remember taking this route when I played this when I was young as well.
Yeah, there's some sharp turns right
Yeah.
here.
Oh,
It's okay.
there you go.
Right there, bop, done.
There you go. How many gems do you get for that? 300. That's quite a bit.
Yeah, you do end up visiting nearly every level, going up to Dreamweavers, which is the 5th homeworld. And it's because they really didn't skimp out on like how much you need to collect to actually beat the game. So there's very few dragons that you can actually skip to actually complete the game. So that's why we're going and grabbing all the dragons in each of these levels. The only one we've skipped so far is in Dry Canyon. We skipped a dragon because it's just way too out of the way.
This is actually the first boss level we're going to see, too. Unfortunately, we're not going to see the boss because we're only here for the gems and the dragon. Once we get the dragon, we're going to just head out and say peace to the boss.
I mean, the level name here is like an inside joke with the developers, wasn't it, I think?
Yeah.
So the level name is called
Dr. Shem.
Dr. Shem. I think they left like a note in the game, wasn't it? I
Yeah,
believe?
yeah. In the code, there was like repeating lines, and it sounds very cryptic. But the last line is, "We always get the Shem." Yeah.
There you go.
We're not on the inside.
We're not interested in the Shem this time, though.
No. All right, so this is the last level for this homeworld, Ice Cavern. It's pretty chill.
There's a lot of gems in this one that are hidden away in chests, so. While you're mercilessly like going through all the enemies, I'm noticing that some of them are better to take out with a charge, and some are better to take out with a flame. I imagine certain enemies have to be taken out with one or the other.
Yes.
So like the big bulky guys, you have to take out with a flame, and then all of the people with shields, I think the shield is resistant to the flame, so you have to charge.
Yep. And then small guys, you can do either or.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of the big enemies too, we can do something called the flame charge. And basically when you flame a big enemy like that, you saw the gem pop out. Some of the enemies we can do a flame charge, which allows us to have a homing effect instead of like having the gem pop out and then jump up and grab it. And you just do that by pressing flame to charge extremely quickly. Each enemy is also different, like how far away you have to be from the enemy to get the homing effect.
Oh, so when he charges for a chest, the game has like a homing effect where the gem will actually home in onto Spyro, regardless as to whether or not you have sparks.
Yes.
So you flame into things and then charge immediately to make the game think that you've charged into it.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't work on all the big enemies though. That was another boosted jump there.
Yeah, that didn't look like an intended way to do that, but.
No time for intended routes here.
All right, so there's a dragon coming up ahead, and it's gonna look really bizarre because Chris is gonna go all the way around to the other side of the dragon to release him. We do this because each dragon, there's like a set point where Spyro will walk to, and we want to be as close to that point as possible. Otherwise, we have to wait for Spyro to walk there. So it's actually faster to charge all the way around.
I can't believe how fast you've stolen the oh.
Even the NPCs are surprised at how fast we're going.
So yeah, Magic Crafters, the balloonist wants us to collect 5 eggs. We already have 1 egg from earlier. This is where all the little egg thieves will be.
Oh, these guys.
Yep. I don't know if we'll hear them taunt us. We might be too fast to let them taunt us.
Normally, they have like a set route around like the home world or the level that they're in, where they'll do their little and then they'll run around just in ridiculous loops and just. I think Chris is going to be doing like a lot of manipulation to the point where I think, to my understanding, if Spyro is at a set point, the thief has a set spawn point, and you can kind of like trick the game into getting the thief to go back to where it starts. Is that how that works, or not quite? No.
I know you confused me.
No, I think I've lost myself on that one.
We'll see something like that later on.
Okay.
Alpine Ridge, the only pretty interesting thing here is that there's cycles. So Chris is trying to catch the fastest cycles possible here. These druids will raise and lower different terrain pieces. There's like some buildings and some grass, I don't know. But he wants to get the fastest cycle that he possibly can.
made a bit of a mistake at the start of the level, so that guy was actually raising his platform. But if you go around on the side there, he'll lower it as you're gliding in, so just a little backup.
Coming up, you're going to see, I think, the first out of bounds you see in this game, which I think the devs either forgot to put the collision in this wall or, well...
Oh, hello.
Yeah, you can just go through that without any effort and just get the thief.
Yeah, normally it actually takes quite a while to get that thief because he'll run around the area outside, but you can get him really quickly by going backwards through the wall.
Yeah, something else to note about the thieves is that there's typically an animation where Spyro will watch and like stare at the egg while it like homes into his face, but we can cancel that animation just by like jumping, and while we're in the air, like the game doesn't know what to do, so then it just skips it for us. Yeah, this is the first level that we see that has supercharge in it. And we're definitely going to do some very not intended things with that supercharge. We're going to take it as far through the level as we possibly can, and we have to defeat enemies along the way, because there's more of those druids that like move the terrain around. So it's pretty difficult to like maintain a supercharge and get all those druids that are trying to move stuff around. And collect the gems. So just taking a beeline to these dragons back here, and then the supercharge.
I'm gonna go for it again.
So I think the color of the smoke behind Spyro during the supercharge indicates just how fast you're going while you're going through it. So it starts out white and then it goes yellow. I think there's another color.
Orange and red.
Is the fastest, yeah?
Oh,
Nice.
still made it.
No.
No.
Okay.
There's no point in going for it now, so that's unfortunate.
But you're going to be seeing a lot of supercharged stuff later on. I think this is the first level that implements it as a mechanic, and then they kind of like just abuse it more and more.
Yep.
Yeah, the one druid just didn't want to die, so
It's not cooperating.
yeah. I will pick up the supercharge again here, just to do this area a little bit quicker. When you supercharge through these fireworks chests, they explode immediately. Normally, if you flame them, they take a few seconds to explode.
Yeah, and you don't take damage when you're supercharging either, which is super nice.
I'm assuming the only way to lose a supercharge is to collide headfirst into a wall or to fall out of the level.
That's supposed to be how it is. Sometimes
Yeah.
sometimes the terrain will just bump you and it'll stop.
Yeah, like for example, I think that chest that you went through, you normally, would you need a key for that one? I believe?
Not that
Or-
one.
Not
There's-
that one, no.
You have to supercharge them.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Or there's rockets in the game that can explode them.
So I beeline for that wizard there because he'll actually immediately spawn all these bigger wizards. Normally they hide up there and you have to go on the outside of the level to get to them. But if you're fast, you can get that guy early. He also has a 10 gems, so that's really nice of him. So
And yeah.
here's some more shenanigans.
With the supercharge. Definitely supposed to just stop here, but we're not gonna stop.
Okay.
Still a bit more. All right.
All right, there we go.
I noticed it went down a level when he went up a supercharged ramp as well. So that's another way for it to go down, I think. You also keep jumping onto the supercharged ramps. Is there a particular reason you're doing that, or?
In this level, it is nice to get a little bit more speed, but the way it works is if you jump and then charge into the top of a supercharged ramp, you get more speed for some reason. I think the developers just overlooked that fact because you're supposed to chain supercharges to gain speed, but you actually don't need to have supercharge to chain them. So the game just thinks that you're chaining supercharges when really you're only jumping into one of them.
That's actually a massive point to note, that you're able to kind of sequence break the levels more, because they only intended you to go at certain speeds down the ramp, so you're able to crank it up an extra notch. That will allow you to make jumps that you normally shouldn't be able to make.
Yep. It can give you extra height and extra speed.
Yeah. You're entering the level from the back for some reason.
Yeah.
Was it for the gems, or?
If you notice, there's a dragon in front of this level, and he might just magically disappear now.
Magically, you say?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Spyro actually keeps, despite what it looks like, Spyro keeps flying in the homeworld, through the little portal there. So he actually touched the dragon pedestal before entering the level, or while entering the level, so the game just thinks that we rescued this dragon, and we can just skip them all together.
So I imagine the same deal at the end of this level as well. There's another animation where he's got a victory pose. Just the moment you hit the last object,
Yep.
just exit out.
He's gonna bop into this arch there. It just instantly
That looked like you cut it really, really close. It didn't even look like you touched the gate.
Oh, see a boulder.
He's gone.
Boulder the
Where'd he
dragon.
go?
Yeah, you already rescued him.
You just wanted to tell us his life story, too.
He's one of the many grandpa dragons.
Oh, okay.
This level has a fairly difficult cycle to get, so I'm just going to try and collect as many gems, but also hit this cycle with the druids.
Yeah, this boss level is one of the most linear ones, which means that we pretty much play it almost exactly the same as the full completion, 120% category. Just a few skip gems.
Yeah, the boss levels tend to have a lot more gem counts in them, and they tend to be smaller levels as well. So they're very good for any percent, even though you only get one dragon in the boss level. So that was the cycle I wanted to get. Really nice. So there's a little damage abuse. You can get the fireworks to explode immediately if you just charge into them. Normally it takes a few seconds for that to go off.
Not much of a boss, is it?
Not when you speedrun it.
No.
Also, when I killed the boss, I charged into his hitbox. Normally the gems are supposed to fly out and spread across the room. But if you charge into the hitbox, they'll just home in directly into Spyro immediately. It's a nice way to save a little time. So yeah, that's Match Crafters. We're already on to the 4th homeworld now. And this one, it kind of ramped up the difficulty, especially with the enemies.
What's the requirement to leave this area?
We're gonna
50
need
dragons.
50 dragons.
50 dragons. Okay, so we're almost there.
Yeah, we're
Because
almost
we've been collecting them along the way. You only need 9, but
So I'm gonna damage abuse in the water there. Unfortunately, didn't work quite like I expected, but
Yeah, these boars have some pretty interesting flame charges when you can pull them off. They're some of the most difficult in the game. But we'll see them again in Misty Bog.
it's another flight level.
This one's quite difficult. You have to be really fast at the start to catch a particular cycle, and it's going to look really odd if I get it.
Dare I say we have a wild route for this level?
Indeed.
Clapping.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
You just got to catch a good cycle with the planes in the final room here. Get them in a correct pattern.
Yeah, that's really not how they intended to complete this level. I'm also going to skip the animation with the wall there.
Wow. You know, 48 seconds left
Yeah.
as well. That's ridiculous. I barely managed to beat that one.
Yeah, that one didn't want to spawn right away.
No, yeah.
Sometimes you have to wait for them to spawn. Yeah, Misty Bog is the next level coming up. It's very notorious for having very difficult enemies. There's these frogs that have like fruit by the foot tongues that can reach super far. These trees, if you look at them sideways, they'll just come and want Spyro for a snack.
These things in particular as well, if they actually eat you, it's really bad. There's like a really long, slow animation where they chew you and then spit you out. So we want to avoid that as much as possible.
Showing them who's boss so far.
Yeah, as you can see, the frogs, they don't like flames that much. So if you're good at flame charging, then you can get the gems to home in and you can avoid their attacks quite well.
Do you have time for a quick donation?
You bet.
We've got $15 from Alexander Hott, who says, I just can't resist donating during Chris's Spyro run. PlayStation is my jam, and the way you managed to break the game would blow Kid Me's mind. Good luck, Chris, and fingers crossed for Twilight Harbor Skip.
Yeah, we'll see the skip later. Not very fond of it.
You got more enemies to clear before we can worry about that. Including an upcoming room. It's quite notorious among a lot of people that run the game because it's just got a lot of enemies in a really tight-knit space that are quite brutal.
I think there's about 9 or 10 enemies in there. all
in like a
crammed into
really
small space.
closed, confined space. You're going to see it coming up in just a moment. So fingers crossed that goes well as well. Looks like you're cutting quite a big corner with that one as well.
Yeah, there's not really any gems I want to collect on the way, so just going directly to this room.
This is the room.
Oh, that was pretty good.
Easy. Nice.
Taking no damage in that room is always really nice,
Yeah.
because you almost never know where the frogs are going to be in that room. And they can just surprise you with their tongues. Coming up is another supercharged level that people might be very fond of.
People say that this is one of the more difficult levels, but it's also one of the best levels to speedrun because you really don't have to do it intended at all.
Yeah, they definitely intended you to use like several supercharge ramps and chain them all together, but we're gonna just completely avoid that.
It has one of the most confusing layouts of a Spyro level.
Yeah, Chris is also in a race with the thief right now. If he wins, then the thief will teleport. Not sure if we got it or not.
I had a few bonks there, but
Yeah.
I think he... Yeah, there he goes.
Yep, gone. That teleports him to this island like right away. Otherwise, you have to wait for him to come back, and you really want that thief because he has a 25 gem.
So you might have noticed that I got to this island quite easily. That was abusing the fact that you can charge jump into the top of the ramp and get quite a lot of extra height. You just have to delay the jump right at the end, kind of jump as late as possible, and then you're able to get his maximum height. That thief's not supposed to die there, but you know.
Oh, that's what you're
Could have
talking about
surprised me
earlier.
with that one. Do the colors of the thieves have any kind of impact as to what they give as a reward, or is it just?
No. I think they're just
Okay.
stylized for
Okay.
each homeworld or something.
Yeah, and the thieves in this world drop gems because there's no reason to have eggs past this point. We
Yeah, some
don't
of them
need
have keys too. I don't think in this run though.
Oh, come on. So you're supposed to be able to use that as a ramp, but unfortunately didn't quite work out. But there's a little backup here, which also isn't intended.
Nice.
I've never seen that before, so I'm kind of glad you actually made that mistake to see that, because that's ridiculous. Nice.
And you want to get up here because there's a bunch of gems.
Yeah, so the initial plan was to use like the sloped terrain to like jump up it and then use that as like a bit of a way to get up there initially.
Another boss level.
Yeah, so we have 49 dragons now, but we're gonna do pretty much this entire level because there's a lot of really good gems. And we're still lacking quite a lot at this point.
But at this point, you wouldn't actually know that you're lacking a lot, would you? Because I think it tells you at the end of the next homeworld that you need the gem count.
Right.
Yeah.
They expect you to collect a lot of gems in Dreamweavers, which is the 5th homeworld that we're going to next.
Yeah, this boss actually has cycles as well on his like power poles. It starts right at that bridge that we just crossed. It's on a cycle, so Chris has to be really quick through here if he wants to catch that cycle. And it'll allow him to take out the power poles as fast as possible.
It's a good time for a couple donations.
Excellent. We have $20 from Jacobo the Chocobo. Very excited for SGDQ. I always love the Spyro runs. You're doing a great job, Chris. I think he's doing a good job, wouldn't you agree? We have 3831 from Andre219. Good luck to Chris. May Twilight Harbor Skip treat you like the mechanical beast that you are.
We got time for another one.
All right, we've got $25 from Holographic Raven. Long-time watcher, first-time donator. My hubby and I love GDQ and everything they do. P.S. Spyro hype?
We got another one. Just got to clean up this homeworld.
Okay, we have $25 from Hummeldun. Hey Chris, great run so far. Keep it up, my friend. We have $15 from Susanna156. As both a doctor and a huge Spyro fan, I am beyond thrilled to see it being played at SGDQ. Great work, everybody, and greetings from Portugal.
All right, so we got 50 dragons, and we've got quite a lot of gems. We just need to clean up the rest of the gems to get to the final homeworld. We need 6,000 in total, and I'm a little bit low on gems, so I'm gonna grab a little bit of extras in the homeworld here. This is really where the gem routing comes together. A little jump there just skip the whirlwind. Don't have time for whirlwinds.
You actually bypassed quite a big section of the homeworld plan to get here as well, if I remember correctly. I think you're normally meant to get to the main center island. There's like a cannon, because there's an enemy that control. Another really cool thing about the game is like the enemies control the terrain and they interact with other enemies as well. You may have noticed in Misty Bog, like one of the enemies was being chased by the boar. When you take the boar out, he then centers on you. One of the enemies in the main homeworld actually activates like a cannon, and it shoots the cannon at other enemies, and that changes their state.
Yeah,
Normally you're meant to shoot it at the two and shrink them and then flame them to get to that area, but he was able to just jump into them and they pushed him upwards because he got caught in between the two of them.
Yeah.
And sent him over.
Yeah, they were large enemies that had a shield, so you really have to shrink them in order to take them out. But if you jump over them at the right time, you'll get like a little damage boost. It'll just shoot you up. Sometimes you can do it damageless just because they have a really awkward hitbox.
I think of the flight levels you've done so far, this one's arguably one of the easier ones.
Yeah, it's pretty
as well.
chill.
Yeah, and if you mess up in this level, there's usually a pretty good backup that doesn't lose too much time, so it's a pretty safe flight level.
And just like that.
Yeah, those 300 very necessary gems.
Still need about 300 more, but we'll probably get that real soon.
Yeah, Jacques is the next level coming up. It's a boss level, and it's really like the gem cleanup level. We watch the gem count here, and then Chris will try to figure out how much more he needs. And it'll determine like which path he's going to take through the level.
Yeah, so I need 360, so do a pretty standard cleanup here. Start on the right side and grab every gem in my path.
So I think the main like gimmick or like thing of the level is that you've got these little enemies with the clock, and I think when you flame them, they act as a timer, and they all trigger different things. Like you've got these two here that will then make this like fountain cake like pillar formation that you then need to climb to get into the room with the key and whatnot. So it's all about catching them. And I think the boss is an absolute necessity on this one. To my knowledge, I think he gives quite a lot of purple gems as well.
Yeah, he has a ton of 25 gems. So even though we're not collecting any gems right now chasing him.
Oh, you could, a chase, you say it is.
Yeah, he throws boxes at you, but I guess when you're charging, it doesn't hurt you. He's already dead. Sorry, Jacques. And there we go. So now you'll see I'll have 6,001 gems, slightly over-gemmed, but...
Just a little.
Oh, you're one over.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll lose any sleep over it, though. So there you go. Nasty's world is not the friendliest place. Little did they know what it actually would mean for us. They tried to speedrun the game, though.
Nasty's world is a super interesting world. There's all these dragon heads, and they only open if you rescue this dragon here, and if you go through the return home vortex in the levels consecutively. So basically, for North Cove, we're gonna just take a beeline to the vortex.
I think the level design of this one also kind of like wraps around in a massive circle as like a bit of a C-bend.
Yeah.
You've got this massive grassy hill that's staring him in the face right now, but instead of doing the whole level, who needs to do that when you can just get a little bit of height from this enemy here and just glide your way to the very end, completely circumventing a bunch of nooks and crannies and tunnels and boats that you need to... Okay.
All right, so it's crunch time now. Chris is gonna try to do Twilight Harbor skip. Definitely the hardest trick of the run. That's probably gonna take a few tries. But basically he's getting a skitter, and then out of that skitter he wants to get a jump. And if he jumps at the right time, he'll get something called a power jump, which is just like a super extra high jump. And then he's gonna get a charge glide out of that. And then he has to hit the nostril of the dragon at just the right spot, which will flap him upward. And then the top of the dragon head, for some reason, this is the only dragon head that is just non-solid on top. So if he gets enough height, then he'll be able to go through the top of the dragon head.
There were some messages in the donations as well about this trick in particular, because it is just notorious for this category because it saves quite a bit of time. you actually bypass having to do the whole of Twilight Harbor running through it, and there's no like shortcut to the very end on that one.
No substantial ones.
No.
Anyway.
If you get it first try, it saves like 50 seconds of the whole level.
Come on.
Oh.
Really close attempt there.
And every attempt reset takes like 7 seconds.
There we go.
Incredibly close.
Game's being mean.
Well, hey, at least I get to appreciate this banger of a tune. Am I right?
There were actually a lot more donations about this than I read.
Yeah, it's quite a notorious trick in the whole run, because it's just right at the end. This is literally the last thing before the final boss. We need to channel your energy now, guys. He needs it more than ever.
Come on. Oh.
A lot of these are really close on target. You'll probably notice that the dragon's head, like the more kind of like curves down.
There we
You're supposed
go.
to land in right there. And that'll take it. Awesome stuff. So normally the goal here is to run down these tunnels to chase these thieves. He kind of manipulates where he opens the door from so that they'll run towards him, so that he can just get the key straight away. Doesn't need any gems, doesn't need anything, doesn't even need to follow him. He can just glide and just... You're actually meant to chase him in this section, but it seems more like a bit of like a sprint race from how close he is to him.
Yeah, this is our final boss,
Yeah.
Nasty.
The
Chris
thing is,
is-
he wants to be as close to Nasty as possible, so he runs a bit faster. If you're ever like way too far ahead of him, he ends up slowing down a bit.
Get ready on time, by the way. It's coming up soon.
Time.
Done deal.
Time.
That's it.
Nasty North is.
Well, thank you, everyone. Hope you enjoyed Spyro the Dragon. Had some difficulty with Twilight Harbor skip, but hey, that's kind of expected. That trick is probably one of the toughest in the game, so not too surprised that that happened.
The obligatory question that everybody wants to know the answer to, and we've all been waiting for. Are you hyped for the Spyro Reignited Trilogy Remaster hitting in September?
Go on.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for having me, Games Done Quick. It's been a pleasure being here again. And good luck to all the runners. And hope you guys stick around and check out all the awesome games that'll come this week. It's gonna be a blast.